Hello, welcome to Fibertown. This is episode 104, and today is the 25th of March, 2015. It's still 2015, I just need to remember. Oh my goodness, hello everybody. Glad to see you guys back today, and hope you've had a great week. Let me say hello to GenCon72, who is Jenny from southern Sweden, and she is a knitter, a spinner, a dyer, a beater. She's a high school. Is it a high school? She's from the southern part of Sweden, and she's a principal in a high school. Has a very interesting job. She also has an Etsy store, and she contributes to the Fat Fiber Box, which is pretty cool. So thanks for introducing yourself, Jenny, and welcome. You can find Fibertown pretty much all over. I'm on Instagram. It's Fibertown with an R-E, and Ravelry is Chain of Fools. And there is a blog, and if you are so inclined, there is a donate button. I have a lot of prizes to be sending out in the next bit. So anything that goes to the podcast stays for the podcast, for hosting fees, for shipping, and sometimes for swag that I might want to be giving away at festivals. So that can be found at fibertown.blogspot.com, and it's fiber with an R-E. It's cold today. I'm wearing my cedar leaf shawlette out of Bugga. It's an Alana Dacos pattern. Isn't that pretty? And this is Another Door Opens. It's a double shawl kind of day. It's cold in my house. Alice is on the heating vent and probably will not be joining us because it's more important to stay warm. So let's see, March FOs. You may enter any FO in the FO thread for March, and we've got, one more week for that? About. Oh my gosh. Yeah, next time we talk, it'll be April. So the FO of the month is a cowl. So if you knit a cowl of any sort, enter it twice. If it's out of handspun, any handspun, enter it a third time. And again, any old FO can be put in there once. So I will draw for a pattern of up to $7 value next week. Upcoming, just so you guys can plan, it's almost Autism Awareness Month. I think it's officially, is it April or May? I think it's April. But I will be participating in an Autism Awareness Sal, that's a weave along, with the Pen, Hook, and Needles ladies. That's Marlisha and Talia, and they have the Pen, Hook, and Needles podcast. And so that will be, I'm going to incorporate that into my monthly FO thread, but it will run for 3 months, April, May, and June, because that's when theirs runs. And I will have a prize each month. And let's see, where did I put? Oh no, it's so pretty too. I need to show you guys. I have a very special, at least one very special, here it is, it's behind my computer. Hang on. Oh my goodness. Yes. My fairy fiber mother gave me this. This will be one prize. I'm not sure when. This is Desert Vista Dye Works self-striping Viso base in the poodle skirt colorway. Oops, and I cannot hold on to it apparently. Okay, thought I might have just shut off the recording. Poodle skirt, self-striping. It's grays and blacks and whites and pinks. It's lovely. It's squishy. It's a merino nylon. So this will be a prize, y'all. Desert Vista. So that's coming up. So just so you guys can plan, and that will be anything that's brightly colored, at least 75% brightly colored. So keep those neutrals to a minimum. Yeah. So that'll be a 3-month-long cal. I forgot to say that the Another Door Opens is an awesome knit. It's a beautiful shawl. I knit mine out of handspun. It's a shawl by Sarah Pomegranate, who's Sarah Bauer of the Yarns at Yin Hu podcast. And it's so cozy and squishy and super fun to knit. And I knit mine out of a loop bump that I spun up, and then some dark Jacob. Okay, I have one FO. I'm going to have to take them off my feet, sadly. I have worn them, oh gosh, it's been like 3 days in a row. That's the thing about hand knit socks. You can wear them can wear them a lot. You don't have to wash after one wear. Don't ask me why that's true of these and not regular store-bought socks, but it is. There's one. This is my herbaceous pattern, and it's out of hazel knits, artisan sock, which is 90-10 merino nylon, and let me see. Oh, it's in the hoppy blonde colorway, so like a beer, hoppy. And they're very lovely. The color is not true. It's much more of an orangey gold in real life, which kind of looks orangey gold. Look, these are my Boston Terrier sock blockers from Jay Banducci. She made these. Isn't that awesome? So it's going back on my foot. Yes, there are two. I knit these pretty fast. They had a short cuff. I knit them on US 1.5s, 2.5 millimeters. 1, 2. I did the magic loop because I was traveling as I knit them mostly. And yeah, I drop my DPNs all the time. So I don't want to pick them up off of a theater floor or a train floor or a metro floor, because yuck. So I knit them with my Jin Kui, which are the eBay Chinese needles. They're fine. They're absolutely fine. So let's see, works in progress. All right, I have 3. My first is a brand new one. These are baby socks. I think the pattern is called Baby Socks, and it's by Bianca Boonstra. And I've knit a bunch of these. And they stay on. They stay on super well. They have a long ribbed cuff. It's a free pattern. It's 40 stitches. There it is. Just started it last night. 40 stitches with fingering weight yarn. And it's ribbed for like 40 rows. So you can fold it down. I can testify these stay on baby feet. Isn't that pretty? These are my carbons, US 1.5, again 2.5 millimeters. And this is out of some Unwind Yarn Company yarn, Unchained Melody. Really beautiful. It's knitting up just gorgeous. It's got, color's not quite true, although you can see when the stitches right there by themselves, there's more of that color in here that's just not coming, it's not being conveyed as you have other colors next to it. Here it is. Yeah, that's not quite right. It's much more of a muted turquoise. So that's from Unwind Yarn Company, and yeah, gorgeous. What base was that? Honeymoon sock, which is 100% wool. Superwash. Ta-da! And that's going in my Handmade in Holland bag, which is super cute. Another work in progress is the Foolproof. And I stand by my original statement that I'm not going to finish this in March. This was the original impetus for the FO of the month. It's hand spun from Gourmet Stash, Yak Silk 50/50. This is Waterweed, this green one, and this purple one is Samhain, which is Gallic for Halloween, All Hallows Eve. And let's see. I'm knitting this. This is by Louise Zass Bangham, which is just so much fun to say. And I'm on to step 2. This was originally a mystery knit along, and it starts out looking like, it's a paid pattern. It starts out looking like a triangle shawl, and then other things happen. So I'm doing stripes now, which is very fun. And it's so stretchy. I really like this blend in garter stitch because I feel like, you know, I'm a wool lover. I love how sheep's wool has a life to it. It just feels alive in my hands. So when I knit with a heavily silk blend, and there's no sheep's wool in this at all, it's yak, it does lack some of that because the yak is very downy and the silk is long and strong, but the yak is short and downy. So it just doesn't have the same properties as wool. It feels a little less alive, but the garter stitch does give it squish. I don't think I would like this very much. It would have too much drape and stockinette for the purpose that it needs to serve as a cowl. So it's a little more laborious to knit for me. It's not as, I don't know what the word is. It's beautiful color, the shine is there. I don't know, it's not the needles. I'm using Chow red lace, which I love. It's just the way the fiber is. I love wool. What can I say? I'm not going to apologize. And things like this make me appreciate wool even more. Okay, my sock yarn blankie, my mitered sock yarn blanket has gotten worked on. And let me show you. Usually when I cast off a square, I immediately pick up stitches for the next one. So I've always got something attached to this thing. Alrighty, what have I done this week? Oh, this was from Heather, 00 something, and she knows who she is. And she knit my Collie Wobbles pattern out of this, and I love it. It's Pagewood Farms. Not sure of the base, but it's in the Army Girl colorway. So I knit a square out of that, and that came in my Soulful Stash swap package, so that's a nice memory. I think this was from Seashore Sharon, or maybe Martha, who is Knit Crit, the hostess of the Virginia Beach Yarn Getaway. It was one of those two. And this one was from Sarah, not Sarah Pomegranate. Fiber Trek Sarah. So many things to remember. And this is Icelandic. This is also very special because she knit her Shield Maiden out of it. And it's amazing. It's really amazing. And it's both the under and outer coat of the sheep, the tog and the thell. And yeah, I just want to do this. Okay, this one I believe was Seashore Sharon, really gorgeous gold and silver. Now this is the next square that I've picked up for. It's going to be white, Gourmet Stash, handspun, white and black. I think it was Hedwig. This one, boom, Nyan Cat. Almost done with my Nyan Cat leftovers. I felt like it deserved a big square because the self-stripings, like this one was a self-striping, when you do in these small squares, you really don't get the full magnitude of the stripe. So, yeah, that's it for the week. As you can see, I don't really respect like, ooh, I'm going to do one row and then I'll start the next row on this blanket. Although this week, strangely, I am doing just that. But usually I put my next square where it looks good. And by good, I mean random. Oh, so this is my basket of sock yarn scraps. And what do you guys think of my idea for Maryland sheep and wool? Let's trade scraps. I've got these, I've got more. I've got a whole nother basket. So give me your scraps. I want your scraps. And I'll show you some scraps I got this week in acquisitions. But I will trade you scraps too because I don't want to have all the same yarns. And I need probably about 4 grams, five to be safe for each square. Although I think sometimes I use more like 3. I think it just depends on the yarn. Fingering to sport weight, either is fine. Give me your scraps and I'll give you mine. And that'll be a nice way to say hey at Maryland. Okay, that's it for works in progress. I'm going to do acquisitions now and then I'll do spinning because I want to tie in some Ask Fibertown to my spinning this week. Okay, now I was talking about Jay Banducci and I was talking about people who give me scraps. And I got a surprise package from her. She was the wonderful person who made me the Boston Terrier sock blockers. She sent me scraps. Look at these gorgeous scraps. This is more than enough. Some of these are enough for a barn raising quilt square. And you might be wondering, have I touched any barn raising quilt squares? No. I ripped out my drunken one. I was not drunk, the square was drunk. Truthfully, I don't know what happened, but it wasn't me. Well, it was me, but you know. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. All right, so thank you. That was such a lovely surprise to get in the mail. And those are going in my basket now. So yay. I forgot to show, what was that? Oops. I forgot to show a few things I won at the History Unwound retreat. And this is one. This was a mug. This was filled with candy. I don't know what happened to the candy. Ken McNeil, Light and Shadow and Oils. And I won this mug from him. I also won this amazing painting. It's a print, actually. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. It's still in its plastic, but this is going to get framed and go up on my wall because it's cheap. And he is Ken McNeil. KenMcNeilArt.com. He had some really gorgeous, gorgeous things, handmade things, hand painted. Check him out. He likes the sheep. He was a vendor at that retreat. I also forgot to show that I won. What did I win? Ooh, I got this tam pattern by Franklin Habit, the Centuria tam, and I won this. 50 fabulous lace knitted stitches. I love stitch dictionaries. They're so awesome for designing and just for making, making your own designs, even if you're not going to publish them. So this will go and be added to my collection, and it's got great stuff. Yay! So those are a few things I found in my big pile of retreat things that I forgot to mention. Okay, I made something. This is sort of an acquisition. I sewed myself a springtime bag. You might remember that I had sewn myself a bag out of an old sweater for winter, and I was feeling like it was getting inappropriate, even though it's cold and gray. Okay, I'm making a spring bag, and spring will come. So I had this fabric. Look at that. It's a messenger style bag. And I sewed this whole thing. And it's the first time I ever put interfacing in anything, so it's got a really nice structure to it. So I used a tutorial that I've linked to before. I'll link to it again. But I've had this cute owl fabric for I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. And I got this in Cambridge, Mass at Gather Here. And it's really, really good quality fabric. It's a nice hefty weave. And it's got these owls that, it's like a square of owls, and their ears touch. It makes it really easy to cut, and so accurately, and mostly in a straight line. I'm very impressed with myself with this. The lining is just some cotton. It has little, I wanted yellow, something fun and springy, and I don't know what that red stuff is. I think a little red thread got caught in there. But I'm very happy. Very happy indeed. So, looks great. It's fun to wear and use, and it's sturdy. Okay. I knew that this stash acquisition was coming, and I'm just still absolutely blown away. So, Sarah DeRue, who has the Copper Corgi dye business, she's been in business, I think she said, for about 5 years. She's based out of Savannah? Is it Savannah? Showing her card. That's what her card looks like. I want to get this right. It might be Charleston. I think it's Savannah. Yep. Savannah, Georgia, not Charleston, South Carolina. So I told you about the yarn that she has had custom milled for her business. It's called Jones Street, and she has it in sport, I believe some DK and some worsted. And the Carolina Fiber Girls are hosting a knit along. They're an audio podcast. Janice and Ann, they're awesome. Janice was the one who told me about this space and introduced me to Sarah. And Sarah has done an amazing thing. She has sent yarn for me to knit a sweater and yarn for one of you to knit a sweater. Okay. I know. I still don't know how I'm going to give this away. I don't know. It's such an amazing thing. I need to think of something big. like a big giveaway contest. If you have any ideas, please, you know how I feel about crowdsourcing. Put your idea in the episode thread, and we'll go from there. So check her out. She has an Etsy shop. She has thecoppercorgi.com. Yes, thecoppercorgi.com. She's on Facebook. She's on Instagram too, is the Copper Corgi. And so, okay, without further ado, this is what I have picked. She sent me 2 sweaters quantities. This is fig, and there it is. There it is. I said to my husband, which one of these should I pick? And he's like, this one, no doubt. There's Sarah. There's her picture. So this is a sport weight. This is Jones Street Sport. And the content is 60% superwash merino, 30% alpaca, and 10% silk. And she said apparently for a yarn to be considered superwash, it has to have at least 60% superwash merino. I mean, she custom made this with the mill. It's amazing. Yeah, the superwash merino, I mean, you get the qualities of the wool, the elasticity, the bounciness, the aliveness. You get the warmth and the drape, of the alpaca, and then the shine of the silk. There's just a bit of silk. What was it? What did I say? 10%? Yeah, 5 skeins. I don't know what I'm gonna make. I have some ideas. I was thinking of modifying the Hitofude pattern for a sport weight yarn. It's been done. I was thinking of doing the Leaving by Ann Hansen. That's beautiful. I attempted it once, and it's lace on both sides. It's knitted lace, not lace knitting, so I'd really have to have my brain turned on all the way. It's not always possible. The Cozy Neighborhood by Hoki Locatelli. That's a sport weight pattern. And then I was thinking of the Old Town by Carol Sunday, and I've knit that before. It's a sport weight. It's a fun knit. It's a great knit, and I wear it a lot. So I want to make a pattern that I already own. I don't want to buy one. So that's mine, okay? And doesn't it look good with my new owl bag? For you guys, we have something equally beautiful. This is nicely packaged up, but I'm going to take it out and I'll repackage it nicely to send it to the lucky winner. I still can't believe this. This is emerald. And that's kind of it. Now, the base yarn, I feel like I need to turn up to adjust my light here to get the best view of this. The base yarn is made with black alpaca. So that means, isn't that stunning? That means that the yarn itself is gray. So it just takes the dye and gives it this depth of tonality. I'm sorry, I have to try to adjust this to see if I can get a better representation. I'll post a picture on Instagram with better coloring and lighting. It's a gray day and I have a light on, but it's not working. But you guys, be very excited. There we go. It's stunning. It's even brighter than that. It's amazing. And it's 5 skeins. That's better. Not quite it. There are a lot of shadows in there. I'm speechless. So generous to me and to the Fiber Townies. Fibertown is a good place to be today. So I will announce next week what you all have to do to win that. I don't know yet. I need to think on it. I just got this the other day and I need to think on it. But I wanted to show you and check out her shop. You know, she's got an amazing goldenrod, which I wish I could wear. I don't think I really can. But I might just do it too. Maybe I'll make a shawl out of it. Anyway, a lot of imaginating going on with that. Okay, what else? Okay, now we're down to Ask Fibertown. And I've gotten recently, I'm going a little out of order with my Fibertowny questions. I have had a lot of questions about fiber prep recently, and I've been doing a lot of fiber prep. So I thought, all right, let's put this all together. And then I'm going to put at the end of my talking about this, I'm going to put the interview with Beth Smith, the one that I did at History Unwound. Okay, I have questions 51 through 53. The first one is from Becky Ann, and she says, what drum carder do you use and do you like it? I can't decide what to buy. Mostly I'll be blending Angora rabbit with other stuff. Merino, alpaca, whatever. I don't know what to do, and the right used carder is not revealing itself to me, so I think I may end up buying new. Okay. Then we have 2 questions from Knitter Mama. And she says, in the past few months, I've started spinning and I'm loving it. For Christmas, I got a drum carder. I wonder which one you got. And would like to move towards processing more of my own fiber. I have an Icelandic fleece and an alpaca fleece. Can I card the 2 of them together for spinning? What kind of combs do you use? What are your must-have fiber prep tools? I would love if you show us more of your fiber prepping process. And then she asks, do you think it would be okay to split my Icelandic fleece and spin them, the tog and the thell? We'll talk more about that in a minute. Spin them worsted and then ply them together. So I guess she's talking about a 2-ply, one with a tog, one with a thell. I'm learning to spin on my own. There is no one around me who spins, and I'm having a hard time finding online resources. I would like to learn to spin woolen, etc. Do you have any online suggestions for learning to spin? Books, thanks. Oh my gosh, so a lot in that. A lot of information, a lot of questions. And before, I just realized I hadn't shown my spinning for the week. Let me do that, and then we'll get to the questions. This is my Captain type ants. This is merino cashmere nylon. This is Into the World fiber. And I spun it, I have 370 yards, so it's like a heavy fingering weight out of 4 ounces. I chain plied it, and it's awesome. I think it would make an amazing baby sweater, and that's maybe what it will become. I don't have the right baby for it yet, though, so it might go in my stash. It would also make awesome socks for around the house. It's not a real sturdy yarn for socks. All right, so the first question was about my drum carder. I have a drum carder. It's a Brother drum carder, and I got it on Etsy. It was my Christmas present a few years ago, and it was the most affordable one I could find. I don't say if I was doing this as a business, this is not the drum carder I would get. I would get a Strauch. That is made in Virginia, and it's really awesome. Other ones I've heard good things about are Pat Green. I believe that's a Canadian company. And then I think Fancy Kitty. Is that a drum carder? It's something Kitty. I think it's Fancy Kitty. I've heard great things about those drum carders as well. The thing I liked about the Brother drum carder, and yes, I have processed several fleeces on this, including an alpaca fleece. There it is. I could afford this one. The Strauch is super expensive. But again, I'm not doing massive production. This works fine for my purposes. And what I liked about it is that you can buy different drums of different fineness. I think I got one for like a medium to fine. But you can switch out the drums. You can own several drums, the big ones. This is called the Liquor In, and this is the drum. You can switch this one out for different teeth per inch. This is TPI is teeth per inch, and this way it's very smooth. This way you don't want to do that. I have been working on my lamb's fleece, done a little drum carding with it, but it's some fleeces I just don't want to drum card them. The Jacob that I made my Enchanted Mesa out of, I drum carded that whole thing and then dizzed it off of the drum carder into long sliver. Is that sliver? Roving. It was roving. I think sliver is a worsted preparation. So this one works for me. It's on Etsy. And it's affordable-ish. Now, other tools I have are, this is for picking things off of the drum carder. I also use these for cleaning the drum carder off. I think there's another one around here somewhere. These are cheapo blending things. I think I got it like Carolina Homespun or Susan's Fiber Shop at a Maryland Sheep and Wool. And these also work okay for flicking, although they're not specifically for that purpose. I do have a flicker. A lot of people use dog brushes. This is a flicker from, oh, it doesn't say the make on here. But basically, you take a lock. This is the fleece I'm currently working on. You put it on your lap on usually like a piece of leather. Otherwise, you're going to hurt your fingers. You can take a few locks together too. And if you do that, oh my goodness, let me get a good lock here. And I usually like to match the cut end. There's the cut end right there where it was shorn off the sheep. If I put two locks together, I'll match the two cut ends. Those are the ends that hang off the sheep. And twist it. And then flick open the locks just by dabbing it. And you get fluffiness. And then turn it to the other side and do the same with the other end of the locks. And then these are fit to go through your drum carder. You know, sometimes got to open up the middle of the lock as well. Yeah. And then these will go through the drum carder and be a little more open and a little easier to card. So that's the flicker. I use this also as a flicker sometimes. Like I'll take another lock. This can be clamped to a table. And so you can do this on your drum carder, but it'll wreck the carding cloth, the teeth, after a while. So just sort of drag it over it and it opens the lock. What I really find myself, well, let me show you my hand cards too. I find myself not using my hand cards very much. I don't really like to make rologs. These are Strout hand cards. And for me, I find that the money I spent on these, I probably should have saved and put towards the drum carder. But I didn't know that. That's just me. Your mileage may vary based on what you like to do. And carding is really better for short to medium staple lengths. So not really for the long wools. You will get, super long locks are super hard to card. And there's a thing in the Ply magazine about cutting long locks, and this needs cleaning, man. I would not cut a long lock. I would just comb them. Yeah. So, speaking of combs, I love these. These are my Valkyrie combs. I think these cost $75. They do not clamp onto a table, at least not these. And I really love the results I get with these. So there's some great videos. Gosh, I'll post some in the show notes about combing. One in particular that really helped me, and that's just a lady on YouTube, but I've seen her. It's Susan something. Susan Anderson also has some great YouTube videos. Other online resources are Craftsy, the JC Boggs class. I've heard good things about that. I've heard good things. Well, I have taken the Managing Color class. It's by Felicia Lowe. That's a great class. For the combs, basically, I've been working on that fleece, and I have now, I've filled up my Ross Farm bag with prepared fleece. And this is about 8 ounces. And I measured, and I have 20 more to go. But I'm sure a good part of that will be waste, because I'm combing. I get a little more waste when I comb. When you card, you can use everything, but you're going to end up with potentially with more neps, because you use everything off of the card. So I'm mostly combing this fleece just because I love the results. It's very, very, it's going to lend more shine to the finished wool. And but I have done some drum carding as well. So just to try it out, see what kind of results I get. I've already spun some samples out of this, and I think I've shown you all, I think I've shown combing once before, but I'm going to show you a little bit, just a little bit of combing. And it's a good thing that Alice is not here because I don't do this with kids or dogs around. Okay, just a few little locks right here. You could fill this up along the bottom, not too much because it's harder to diz off or to take off. I don't use a diz with my combs because they're not stationary. I hold them in my hand, and I would need an extra hand to diz them. And a diz is just, I use a needle gauge, and I pull it through. I pull the top through one of the holes. I'm going to put some more locks on here. This is called lashing on. And there's one. So I always take the cut end and lash that onto the tines. See, like that? So I could go on and fill up all of these tines, but what really happens is that there's a theory that if you spin from the tail end to the cut end, it'll be shinier and you'll have less of a halo. So that's what I'm trying to do when I comb. You just have to remember how you wind up your nests, which is the tail end and which is not. So I'm combing from side to side. So basically I'm taking the tail end now is lashed onto the opposite side here. And you can spin it. Usually you're not going to get all of it off, but that's pretty good. Now I'm going to do another pass because you can see it's still got some locks, still in lock formation. See? But, so now I have the cut end sticking out. So I'm going to put the cut end back on the other, back on its original comb in its original lineup, in its original formation. All right, now I'm going to do, now we have the tip end out again and the cut end back here. So I'm going to do another pass. And it's pretty much there now. So whatever I have left on there, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to put it back on the original comb this way so that I have everything aligned like it was originally when I lashed everything on. Sometimes I grab it with my thumb, the last little bit that won't come off. So there's some waste right there. And this is, got a little nip there to take out. A lot of dust and vegetable matter falls out like this, and it's easy to pick out. So now I'm going to hold this on my knee, and I sort of wiggle it up the tines a little bit, makes it a little easier. And I get a good handle on the comb itself, and I start drawing out the top like this. You can draw it a little to the side, a little to the other side, a little to the center, however it works for you. You just sort of wiggle the top out until you get, see, it's starting to be neppy, some waste is coming out, so I'm just going to let it go there. And this is the waste that's on that comb. So you remember, this is the cut end, right? And I want to spin from the tip end. So I'm going to just wrap the cut end inside and have the tip end on the outside, and that's the end from which I will start spinning. And I have a little nest. And it goes in my Ross Farm bag. So I give myself a little bit to comb every day, and it gets there eventually. So I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration with my Valkyrie combs. It's my favorite fiber prep method of the moment. I even like spinning or combing shorter fibers, like my Rambouillet, Corriedale cross is shorter stapled, but I've combed some of that and I really like it. That could easily go on my drum carder though. Drum cards I find just more, hand cards I find more time consuming, and I'd rather drum card if I'm gonna card at all. So that's my feeling about, those are all my fiber prep tools. And I'm an expert on what works for me. I'm not an expert on everything. For that, I would go to Beth Smith, who you will see in a bit, the Spinner's Book of Fleece. And I will show that when she is being interviewed. And the Sarah Anderson book, The Spinner's Book of Yarn Design, is another, I think, amazing one. And then Sarah Anderson has YouTube videos. JC Boggs' Craftsy class, Felicia Lowe's Craftsy class. The combing I showed you is basically what I learned off the internet from that other woman. And it's really worked well for me. And let's see. The other must-have is really this one from Deb Robeson and Carol Acarius. The Fleece and Fiber Source Book. Get it if you don't have it. Let's see. Knitter Mama asked if she can card her Icelandic and alpaca fleece together. Sure. I think that might be amazing. With knitting and swatching, I take it with a grain of salt. Okay? It doesn't always work out the way your swatch tells you it's going to work out. But I think with spinning, sampling is fun and you need to do it. So card up a little bit of your Icelandic fleece with the alpaca. Spin it, ply it how you think you might want to ply it, and it doesn't have to be a lot of it. And see what the yarn is like. Might be amazing. Icelandic and alpaca. I don't think I've ever seen that combination, so maybe you need to do it. Try it, and then maybe knit a little bit. Knit a little swatch. Knit a little square on your sock yarn blanket if you have one. I've knit a lot of spinning samples onto that blanket. So I've showed you my combs. I've shown you my fiber prep tools. I've shown you some process. And let's see, then you ask if it would be okay to split your Icelandic fleece and spin it, the tog and the thell. Spin it worsted and ply them together. Again, sample it. Honestly, if you're going to ply them together, and it were me, if you're going to have both of them in the yarn, I would just leave them together because you're going to get a whole extra step of trying to separate the tog and the thell. That might slow you down and might not be fun. If you love it, then do it. But if they're going to be together anyway, just prep them together. I would say don't prep them separately. I have not done it. I do wonder if you would get, the outer coat would be not as embedded in the inner coat, and so might stand out more, and you might get more of a scratchy effect. That's something to consider, and it's something that you could try and sample and see if it's like that. So I use my yarn that's the yarn from the fleece I was just combing. That's some sample. Isn't it shiny? It's really pretty. I use it as a bookmark sometimes. So I opened to Icelandic, and so it's a double-coated fleece, and the outer coat is kind of like mohair, and then the inner coat is very fluffy and soft. And you can see here, there's the thell, the inner coat, the downy part, and there's the tog. And I just feel like if they were mixed together like a traditional Lopi yarn, you might get less prickle. I could be wrong, but that's my instinct about it. And then you have to hold the thell and rip out the tog to separate them. I don't know how else you would do that at home for the home fiber processor, and that would be kind of an onerous task, I think. So that'll be very interesting. But this one, the Spinner's Book of Yarn Design and the Spinner's Book of Fleece, those would be my three. Those are my three favorites. And then Ply Magazine. That's another great one. So let's see. Sarah Anderson you want to learn how to spin woolen? Sarah Anderson has a great video on YouTube for that. Yeah. I think I've answered everyone's questions. And yes, so I was incredibly lucky to get to interview Beth Smith. We had a great time. and I hope you guys enjoy it. She is the author of The Spinner's Book of Fleece, and she was the teacher of the presidential fleece class at History Unwound, among other things. And you guys will see in just a minute, I got to ask her a lot of questions that you all had as well. So I hope you enjoy. And in the coming weeks, you'll see some other interviews from other teachers at History Unwound. So without further ado, Beth Smith.
I don't know.
Hello, I'm here with Beth Smith. She's the author of The Spinner's Book of Fleece, a really amazing resource book. There's her name. And thanks for sitting down with me. I'm so appreciative. I just took Beth's class and we looked at presidential sheep breeds, and that was a lot of fun. So I had some of the Fibertown listeners send in questions, and let's see, this is from Erin, and she's from Michigan, from Holland, Michigan.
I like Holland, Michigan.
Yeah, and she makes bags. Anyway, what are the top 3 things to look for in your first spinning wheel, she says. What would you say?
Wow, let's start with a hard one. Top 3.
Yeah. Because it's hard to pick that first wheel, you know, you're like...
Well, okay.
Everyone says to try them out, but then what are you supposed to look for?
Okay, so I'll just talk about what I used to do for people when I used to own the spinning loft.
Right.
And I had always at least like 12 wheels on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So when people would come, there was a variety of wheels for everybody to try. So here's what I would ask.
Mm-hmm.
First was, how much is your budget? What's the top end of your budget?
Okay.
Because if your top end of your budget is $500 and I sit you down in front of a shucked mattress, you're ruined.
Yeah.
And then you're going to cry because the wheel you're going to buy is not going to compare to a $1,000 wheel. A $500 wheel, there's a reason that it's $1,000, right? So don't try any wheels out of your price range. Don't do it.
That's a good
because
point.
eventually you might be able to afford that more expensive wheel, but don't even try it if it's not an option, because that's just torturing yourself. It's sort of like, having a $50 dress budget and shopping at Nordstrom, right? And then you try on this dress and
you look wonderful, you feel wonderful, and you can't do it.
You can't do it.
Good point.
So just don't even look at the wheels that are out of your budget. Even if the people on Ravelry tell you that the matchless is the best wheel that you're ever going to get and you're never going to get a better wheel, it doesn't matter if you can't afford it.
Right.
So, and maybe you don't have another 2 years to save the extra.
You want it now.
You want it now. And you can always sell that wheel later, to get the next one up.
Good point.
After that, I would see, then it's personal. Like, what kind of yarns do you like to spin? If you like to spin fine yarns, you don't want an Irish tension wheel. So don't even look at the Louette S10.
Okay.
Don't do it, because that's not the best wheel for fine yarns. People can spin fine on those, but it takes a lot of effort and learning and work to get to that point. So you have to think about what kind of yarns you want to spin and decide there. If you want to spin art yarns, then get something with a bulkier flyer and probably a flyer with loops that go through instead of all those hooks, so all your little attachment things on your fancy yarns don't get stuck on the hooks, right? Point. So it's sort of like the top 3 things that you want to look for change depending on what you want to make. If you're a fine yarn user, you want a wheel that's going to do fine yarns better. Right. So maybe a double drive wheel would be the best for you. If you do like a wide range of things, then you need an all-around wheel. So either a Scotch tension wheel or something that's going to do all 3 drive systems is going to be good.
Cool.
So it really has to do with all the personal things. So if she wants to email me,
you can give her more specifics.
When she's deciding on her wheel, I'll ask her all the questions.
Yeah, I got a Ladybug, and so far it's done everything. I think I've had it 3 years. It's done everything I've asked it to,
And
that I want it to.
An awesome wheel for
But now
first wheel.
I'm starting to hear about, for example, the Shacked Reeves and how fast it is. And I'm I don't love knitting with fine yarns very much. But I could, I'm starting to see like the Orenburg lace shawls and all, I'm thinking, ooh, maybe that is something I'd like. I don't know. Well, what wheel inspires you, like right now, what wheel inspires you the most to sit down at it? What's calling to you? Because I assume you have a variety.
Well. Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe, I had 16 wheels.
Wow.
Currently, I have 3 that I use. Mm-hmm. I think I have 6 altogether.
Okay.
Because I just realized it was nice to have all those wheels so I could try them all out and play with them all. And then when I go to classes, I can help people with their wheels because I'm familiar with almost all of them now. And I bring on my little toolkits and I can help people fix them. At home, though, I like a wheel that's going to get my work done.
Yeah.
So I have a matchless that I use often. Mm-hmm. I have a 30-inch Shacked Reeves that I use a lot.
Yeah.
And I just got last fall a Norm Hall Castle wheel that has a 24-inch drive wheel, so it's fast.
Yeah.
Norm Hall is he makes handmade wheels. He usually has a booth at Rhinebeck where he brings a couple wheels, but mostly custom things, and they're
wow. They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But
I still go to my Shacked Reeves almost every day because I spin finer yarns. Usually if I'm spinning without thinking, when I ply my yarn like a 3-ply, it's about fingering weight or a sport weight. So, I'm on the finer end of things, and so the Shacked Reeves is good for my
that suits you.
Usual yarns.
That was a question from Rebecca, I should have said. What's your default yarn like? That's from me. I'm just wondering, like, what's your smooth? So your worsted spinner generally, or?
Yeah, I don't really do anything with, Barbie heads hanging off, and there's none of these, beehives or coils. Or I've taken all those classes, and I recommend that people take all those classes. Even if it's a yarn that you don't think you'll ever use, take that class because it helps with all your other yarns. But for me, it's usually a finer yarn. For solid knitting, I usually go for a 3-ply. For lace stuff, a 2-ply. I don't even really do singles much. 3-ply or 2-ply.
3-ply is just
and smooth.
It just hides all the sins. Like I love a 3-ply. Okay, so this is from Nancy. What's the biggest mistake people make in selecting and preparing fleeces? I'm sure there are. That's a huge question, but maybe if you could just whatever pops into your mind.
Yeah. The biggest mistake is choosing based on softness. Because we all kind of get sucked into that. Yep. And you go into the fleece barn at the Fiber Festival, and it's so soft.
Good. Yeah.
Right? And so we buy that fleece, and every single time. The problem is, here's my soapbox.
Okay.
Many of us were trained to be knitters, right?
Yeah.
So you go into the yarn store and you squeeze that ball of yarn and you go, it's so soft. And you take it home and you make the thing, and the thing is pilling before you're done making it, right?
Right.
Because it's not the right yarn for the thing. Or it's really not the right yarn for anything because it's not durable. It just feels good. And so medium wools are really great for everything.
I love a Finn, for example. I love Finn.
Corriedale and Romney, all those old kind of breeds that people used to spin all the time, and nobody thinks about it very often anymore.
Yeah.
There's a reason that people used to spin them all the time.
Jacob, Finn, those are kind of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tunis.
And Tunis now. And what else did I love? Well, Shetland. I'm getting to really love Shetland.
Yeah.
That's on my list for Maryland, I think, this year.
So I think softness is really the thing that the biggest mistake is softness.
What about the storing of them? You know,
do you want to know what I do, or do you want to know the right way?
What do you do? Because
they're all in plastic bags.
Yeah,
that's bad.
That's bad. And
but because
unwashed.
I have a lot, I do store them unwashed.
Yeah.
So I went to SOAR in 2007.
Mm-hmm. That's the spin-off Autumn Retreat?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Margaret Stove was there.
Uh-huh. She's the lace spinning guru,
in New Zealand, right?
Okay.
And so I have a lot of fleeces. At the time I had the store, and I had all these raw fleece. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, Margaret Stove.
Mm-hmm. Like you do.
How do you store your fleeces? And how long can I keep them before they're bad? Mm-hmm. And she said, no, I'm not going to do my New Zealand accent because I don't have one. And she said, I have some in the rafters of my garage that are 20 years old. And I went,
excellent.
Awesome. And they're not washed. So
yeah, that's good to hear.
So this morning we had a class, and I have this Lincoln that we used for class. Mm-hmm. that I bought this 12-pound Lincoln fleece a couple years ago, right? And I washed the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I've been using it for classes little by little. Today in class, the cut end of the Lincoln was felted, a little felted. It's been stored in a plastic bag.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like anybody's been rubbing on it or anything.
Just like condensation,
the
maybe?
Humidity, it opens and closes those fibers, the scales in the bag. And so I really feel like it's better to store them unwashed, even though I know that everyone's afraid of moths. Mm.
Yeah.
And
they're more attracted to the dirty fleeces. Theoretically?
Theoretically, yeah. They are. But, I've had some moths, and then you just throw the thing away and you clean up the place. And nobody died.
It's all good.
It's all right.
It's not the end of the world.
So, if you don't have 150 fleeces in your garage, mm-hmm. if you have 4 or 5 fleeces, go buy pillowcases that are tightly woven pillowcases. Okay. Several hundred thread count. Mm-hmm. And store your fleeces in the pillowcases. Cotton, not any fancy bamboo or any of that stuff. Just plain old cotton pillowcases. The mice may try to chew them, but probably won't. The moths won't get through that weave.
Yeah, okay, because it's so tight.
And it allows the fleece to breathe.
Cool.
So the fabric bag is a better choice. And just take some twine and wrap tie the top closed. And that's the best way to store the fleeces. If you don't have 150, because 150 pillowcases is a lot of money, so I just use the plastic bags.
You could conceivably just get some, tightly woven fabric at Joann's and zip it in your sewing machine and make a gigantic one.
You could.
If you don't want to divide it up.
If you wanted to.
It's a new Etsy store. Somebody's going to do that.
I would like my cut, please. 1 penny per bag.
Exactly. Okay, it's from here first. Okay, so just one last question. I think. So the Leicester Longwolls, did you get a chance to go see the sheep on Duke of Gloucester Street, also called Dog Street?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I just got here yesterday, late in the early in the afternoon, and then
I hope you get a chance to take a gander.
Maybe tomorrow I'll have to be late for one class so I can go see the sheep.
Yeah, maybe it should be a field trip for your class. If the weather's nice, everyone could take a stroll.
We should have done that today.
Well, yeah, this morning it wasn't bad out there.
I never think of the good ideas early enough.
I know, it's the whole day tomorrow. Well, thank you, Beth. It was really generous of you to sit and talk and share your insights and knowledge. So, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, bye.